Welcome back to Module 2 of Agile Scrum Product Owner Training and e-learning module. So in this Module 2, we will talk about the Scrum fundamentals. We will see what are the different ceremonies, what are the different roles which are there in Scrum. We'll try to discuss what are the basic principles of Scrum, how Scrum basically works, and what is the responsibility of each and every role which is there in the Scrum. We'll also discuss about the origination of Scrum, how Scrum has originated, and what are the fundamental what is the fundamental history and use cases of Scrum as well. So with that, we will dive deeper into the module Scrum fundamental. So module 2, as we call fundamentals of Scrum, basically try to cover the basics of Scrum as part of this module. So if you see the overall popularity of Scrum as a framework, we see Scrum is the most popular framework as we call and refer across. So almost 58% of the people who have been using agile methodology, they are using Scrum as the most important way of adopting agile. So almost 58% use Scrum methodology. Say 7% of people use Kanban, 10% people use Scrumban, and some of them use iterative development. Extreme programming as well is used, wherein there are few product companies they use extreme programming. The one of the examples I've heard is the likes of product companies of Microsoft. So they try to use extreme programming as one of the way for delivering or using the agile methodology. There are organizations who use Scrum and extreme programming. We call that as a hybrid agile. So that is around 8%. And there are other hybrid multiple approaches as well, which comprises of 9%. So in principle, most of the people, when you talk about agile as a framework, it is through the likes of Scrum, which is resulting to 58% of overall adaptability. So hence, Scrum is one of the most popular agile methodology. So let's discuss now the beginning of Scrum. So how Scrum was developed and what is the history of it. So when we see the first reference of the non-sequential approach, there was a research paper which came in 1986. The title of the paper was The New Product Development Game. So that was the time when the first reference of the Scrum was given across, and it was mainly in the area of product development. So how you can have a better product development with the likes of following the principle of Scrum. That was the initial and the first reference which we find way back in 1986. So Scrum has been there in system for quite some time. So as we call the suggestion or the word of Scrum has been taken from the kind of rugby, we call it across. So it is a short form of a scrummage wherein you have a tightly interlocked team members who try to move the ball down the field. If you see the rugby as a game, in that teams on both the sides, they try to work in close collaboration and they try to move the ball around the field. So uh, Scrum as a word has been originated from scrummage, wherein you try to interlock and try to ensure the teams work in close collaboration and close coordination. So as we called, so the suggestion was to stop running the relay races and then take up the rugby. So if you refer to Scrum as a beginning, a history of Scrum basically can be traced back to the likes of rugby, because that's the place where the word scrummage has been originated or traced back to. So now let's refer to the Scrum Guide. So the latest version of Scrum Guide, which is available by Ken Schauber and Jeff Sutherland, is the release of November 2020. So the Scrum guide, which is called the definitive guide to Scrum, the rules of the game. Uh, the latest guide had few of the changes which is done. So this is, as Mr. Hanshover and Jeff Sutherland says, it is a lightweight framework that help people, team, and organization to generate the value through the adaptive solutions for the complex problems. So as we have seen earlier, as a part of the agile project management, so Scrum is basically a adaptive solution. So it is basically helping you to find those solutions which should be able to work out in the complex situations, or they should be able to handle the complex problems. So that's how the Scrum guide has been created. The guide is not more than 15 to 20 pages, so it's very simple to read and simple to understand. The latest version, as we call, is of the November 2022, November 2020, which can be referred and downloaded easily in the links provided below. Uh, Scrum framework, as we look across, uh, let's first talk about the Scrum team. So in Scrum, there are three main roles. The first role, as we call it out, is the product owner. So product owner as a role is the most important and critical role, and this basically e-learning is dedicated to discuss about the details of the product owner role, how product owner acts as uh, one of the important role which drives and helps the Scrum team in terms of managing the situations, handling the user stories, uh, uh, making making himself available for any kind of clarifications which is required for the team at any point in time. So product owner itself is the most important role, where he tried to anchor the team in any kind of circumstances. The next important role is the Scrum Master. So he is the person who acts as a leader who serves the team, and Scrum Master basically as a role helps you to ensure that the Scrum processes or ceremonies are being followed across. So Scrum Master enables us for carrying out the processes or practices of Scrum. The next role is a developer's role. So all the people, in addition to about to role, are called developers. So there's no separate role. There's no separate role called testing role or something like that. Everyone, in addition to the product owner or Scrum Master, are called developers.